Hello everyone, my name is Udo, and today I'm here, just like you, to learn all about my favorite application in Odoo. It will be all about accounting, of course. And to tell you all about it, we have Eva Lombardo with us today, our accounting expertise coordinator that will tell us all about it. Hi Eva.
Hi, Winant.
When we talked about the content of this presentation, well, I don't know why, but I immediately thought about all the new people that we hired last year. Actually, every day we receive new mails from our amazing new colleagues that started Odoo. But apparently, there is only a few people that start in the accounting department. So today will be all about a day in the life of our accounting department. I wanted to know how they manage it. So I went to see our CFO and he gave us some very interesting figures. Udo is like 9 legal entities all around the world in different countries. But it's only managed by 20 different people. With an annual growth of 70% every year, I really wondered how they can manage it. If we take a look at the transactions, it's even more impressive. We have 22,000 different bank transactions on a monthly basis, 2,500 vendor bills, and 15,000 customer invoices. So I was so impressed about it that we made a comparison over the last 5 years. And if we take a look at 2015, there were only three of them for 135,000 transactions, on an annual basis, combined with a 10 million revenue on an annual basis as well. And if we take a look at the evolution, well, we can see that we are now only 20 people in that department for 2.2 million transactions on a yearly basis and combined with a 150 million revenue. So actually, if we make that comparison, well, you only need one accountant for an SME that makes a 1 million revenue on a yearly basis. So what I want to know today is how can they manage it? So therefore, Eva, I hope you're up for the challenge because I want to know more about that.
Challenge accepted.
First challenge will be all about accounts receivable. When I think about accounts receivable, I think about how can they manage a smooth invoicing process. And when I think about the invoicing process, well, we have invoicing coming from different sources. We have our customers that immediately purchase on our e-commerce, but we also have our salespersons that create sales orders all around the world. So if we take a look at that, how do they manage with all the different VAT regulations? They change continuously. I want to know how we manage to have the correct tax applied on every invoice. And what about companies that have multiple VAT numbers? How do they manage that in Odoo? Eva, are you up for the challenge?
Yeah, of course. Let me show you. Okay. So as you were saying, we have so many invoices coming from multiple sources, and it becomes really difficult for businesses to know which tax rate they need to apply because it changes so much a long time. So let's just get in the database and see in the invoices. So I have 5 new invoices, what happens and how we have improved the tax rate process. So you can see here I have two different sales teams that because I've split it my sales among B2B transaction and B2C transactions. That's important because the tax rate is going to be different. Let's go within the invoices to see what happens. So you can see here, as you were saying, we are in a multi-VAT environment. So every time I have a French business buying from me, I have to mention my French VAT number. And the big difference here is not automatically the VAT identification number is automatically updated on my PDF. So you can see I have not my Belgian VAT number, but my French one. In addition, you see that on the PDF and in my invoice, you have the French tax rate applied. But it's not only that, it's the fact that those taxes are French specific, so we will identify them in a specific VAT report. So in the journal items, you can see that the tax rate are also French specific. Next invoice, we are in the same situation, but for Germany this time. So I already also have a VAT number for Germany. So I have the proper tax rate applied for the German tax. And also in my PDF, you see that I have my German VAT ID number in here. Next invoice, I'm talking about international transactions, but we of course also deal with the Belgian ones. So in that case, we have our domestic sales rates and also our Belgian identification number on our PDF. So you can see here all of those three. I didn't change anything. Everything is automated. I don't have to worry about my legal mentions and my tax rates anymore. Next invoice, here we are in a different use case because I sell in a B2C transaction. So due to the new OSS regulations, I have to apply my customer's country's tax rate. So here I have an Italian customer. I need to apply the Italian tax rate. The only difference between this use case and the previous ones is that I have to keep my Belgian VAT ID on my invoice. So you can see I still have my Belgian one, but the tax rate is the Italian rate. Last invoice, we are in indeed the same situation, OSS regulation. So I have to apply for my Spanish customer the Spanish tax rate, but again, Belgian, it's a Belgian VAT ID.
Nice. That looks amazing. I'm pretty impressed about this one as well. It looked that easy, Eva, but is the configuration that easy as well?
Yeah, it's super easy. If you have to apply to the OSS regulation, you first have to go in the settings accounting and just click on one new feature, which is called the EU intra-community distance selling. When you save and select this feature, Odoo is going to automatically create all the fiscal position for each participating country and all the related taxes to it. So if we check the fiscal positions, you can see here I have all my OSS fiscal positions. Let's go in one. So for Italy, you can see I have everything put in place for me and all the taxes are already created, so I don't have to do anything. It's all in one click. If we take the other example where we have a multi-VAT environment, you also have to create a fiscal position for that, but it's super easy as well. So in one fiscal position, you have now the possibility to mention your foreign tax ID, and thanks to that feature, it will now be automatically updated in your invoice PDFs.
I really like that part. A lot of companies will definitely like it. But just want to see one thing because you already configured it here upfront. What about creating a new one? Let's go to your sources and create one for Italy, for example.
Okay, let's do that. I'm just going to create the fiscal position. I'm going to put Italy B2B, for example. I have two, I'm going to set up as detect automatically, VAT required, because we're in a B2B situation. Let's just put my Italian tax ID and put the country. As you can see, once I've set up the country, I have this warning inviting me to create the taxes in one click. So by clicking here, automatically all the Italian tax rates are going to be created. And once when I want to do the mapping, you will see that here I have all the Italian tax rates automatically set up. So I just have to select the right one.
Indeed, that looks very easy. But there is one thing I think we did not cover yet. What about the different tax reports? Can we get them out of the single legal entity at once?
Yes, as I was saying when we showed the invoices, each tax rate is a VAT, has a specific VAT report. So if we check the tax report menu, you can see now, let's just put September because this is when I have transactions. You can see now I have a filter that enables me to switch from one VAT report to the other so easily. So in one click, I can identify my VAT report for each country in which I have a VAT identification number. And I also have one for my OSS regulation sales where I can identify easily all the transactions I've made in the participating countries.
Amazing, Eva. I'm getting impressed already. Can we jump back to the slides in order to see what we've learned from you?
Of course.
So first of all, we saw our new OSS regulation. It's very easy to set it up. It's available for all participating countries, and in one click, we create all the fiscal positions and all the taxes for you. And if you want to export the OSS tax report, well, in one click, you can have a statement of all of them. And on the other hand, all our companies that have multiple VAT numbers like us, well, they can now link it to a single legal entity and have all their tax reports immediately in one company. So yeah, great for the first challenge, Eva. Let's continue like that. Second challenge I'm impressed about is all about accounts payable. If I think about accounts payable, well, I'm not only thinking about accounts payable, I want to know how we manage all of our incoming documents. Because I heard about the fact that we are a complete paperless company. So, how did we manage to become fully paperless? And how did you get rid of all our tons of paper? And on the other hand, well, getting all of those documents, we saw in the beginning we have 2,500 vendor bills on a monthly basis. I cannot imagine that with 20 employees, they have to create all of them manually. Is there something in Odoo to automate all of that? And last but not least, I think a lot of companies also want real three-way matching. What about our customers that manage the purchase application and manage open POs? How do they link it to all those incoming vendor bills? Eva?
Okay, let me show you in the database real quick. So as you were saying, indeed, it's a challenge for companies to become paperless and spare a lot of time. In Odoo, what we do, we hired a third-party company that scans all our paper mail and through an email alias sends all the scanned documents. This email alias is linked to our documents application. So when I go in the documents application, you can see I have different workspaces here. These are all specific to each department and have a specific purpose. In the internal workspace, I will receive the scanned documents, and that's when our office manager takes over and splits the document among the different departments. So let's do that. I'm going to select the document and split it. So you can see here, I have a lot of different pages. Not all of them are related to one single department. So here I have some bills. Here it seems I have a fine from you, Winand, again.
Not sure it's about me, I think.
I have some marketing flyers, some bills here. So what I'm going to do is send the bills first to the financial department. Here, I'm just going to deselect the ones that I don't want. And you can see here I have one bill with multiple pages. So I'm just going to keep them together. This one's about terms and conditions, so I don't need it. And the selected pages, I'm going to send them to move to finance. Here I have 4 remaining pages. Let's send the fine to the HR department. And lastly, the marketing flyers goes to the marketing workspace. The last one I'm going to discard it because I don't need it. So you see my internal workspace is empty. What I can do is switch to the finance workspace to see what it's all about. You can see here I have much more documents than I've dealt with previously. That's easy to identify the new ones because we have some tags to see what is in the inbox. So all those new documents, I'm going to send them and use the finance specific actions that are available here and send them to the accounting application as bills. So when I click on the action, what's going to happen is that it's going to generate new draft vendor bills with each and every one of them a PDF. So what happens here is all empty. That's because I still have the tag activated. When I take it out, you see that I have all my bills that have been validated. And it's easy to track to which journal entry they are related to because I have the journal entry here and I can decide to click on it and see, track it in my accounting application as well.
Wait. That went very quick, Eva. Can we just jump back? What happens to all those vendor bills that you sent to accounting?
Okay, let's just go in the accounting application to see what happened. So here in my vendor bill journal, you can see I have now 6 bills to validate. So those come from my documents application. And you can see here, everything has been completed for me. So that's due to the OCR technology that we have in Odoo that enables us to scan the document and translate all this information into my vendor bill. So I don't have, as a user, to complete it myself. So you can see here, the OCR will retrieve the vendor, the bill date, the due date, the bill reference, etc. If the vendor exists, it will match it with the existing contact. But if it doesn't, we have also the possibility to match the VAT number from the vendor to into the VIS European database and take all the information for that DB and create the vendor automatically. In addition, the OCR will also create the invoice lines and it will group the information by tax rate. So it will detect the different tax rates applied in the invoice and put it back into the invoice line. It will also retrieve the price and the label. The only thing that will not be found on the PDF, just because it's not there, is the account. So that's when our artificial intelligence takes over, and thanks to the combination of the vendor and the label, the AI will give you the correct account to apply. Let's check the next bill. You can see here I have the only difference is I have a multi-page bill and it doesn't change anything for the OCR. The information is properly retrieved. You can see here the account is also different, so it works. The AI takes over completely well. Next bill here, you see it's a little slightly different because it's an investment. So I have acquired a new computer. You can see the account here is not an expense one, but an acquisition account. So again, no, I don't have to do anything about it. Next bill here, just a phone bill. The only difference, again, the account is adapted properly. Here, this vendor bill, you can see I've explained to you that we split the invoice lines based on the tax rate. I have indeed two tax rates to apply, 21% and exonerated from any tax. The OCR does it perfectly, and the AI adapts also the account perfectly. Last but not least, here you can see we have a vendor bill, but the OCR has not applied all the information yet. If you are impatient like me, you can just refresh manually and you can see all the information that will be automatically loaded. Here it's a little bit different because we have a whole lot of different invoices, and that's of invoice lines. That's due to the three-way matching technology that enables us to detect the purchase order reference that is on the PDF and match it with an existing purchase order in our system. So you can see in the chatter, we see that the vendor bill has been modified from the purchase order number 1. If you see it, it's exactly the same invoice lines as in the bill, so it will take over and inherit the purchase order information instead of the ones on the bill.
Wow, the matching with the PO lines is really impressive. I'm pretty sure that accountants will love this one. I just have an additional question. Eva, correct me if I'm wrong, but I saw an asset, I think, for the one from Computersma. What happens with those assets? Is there something that can automate the creation of the assets?
Yes, of course. Let me just post the entries first because that's what triggers the creation of the asset. So I have, when we post a bill, automatically, thanks to the configuration of the acquisition asset, I'm going to go back to the bills. Let's take the computers MSA here. You can see that thanks to the account, I have automatically created an asset file, and that is auto-validated thanks to the asset model. So we combine the information from the bill to get the original value and so on, and the configuration of the account to get the depreciation method, the accounts to use in the entries, to create the asset file and have all the depreciation board completely automated. So you can see here I have some past depreciation entries that has been already posted, and all the future ones that are scheduled to be posted on their accounting date. You can also check the posted entries and get the details here in the account in the journal entry view.
Wow, that's amazing. Actually, you just have to validate the bill and we take care of everything that will happen after. There is another one that I was wondering about, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I saw one for Renewy, I think. I believe it was expenses for last year, 2020. Is there any way to, let's say, automate the provision for them?
Yeah, that's correct. So if you have a bill that concerns a previous period, you just have to go within the bill, and in the journal items view, you have the cutoff feature, enabling you to recognize this expense at a different period. So all I have to do is change the recognition date. So I'm going to put last period, which is December. I have to choose my accrued account. I can decide to adjust the amount. So if you could put, for example, 50%, and you can see here the amounts will be automatically updated. I'm just going to put 100 because it's a fully recognition. And I can also change the journal, so you could decide to put a dedicated journal for those entries. What happens in Odoo is that you're going to have your recognition entry for the previous period, but at the same time, you're going to have the reverse entry at the date of the bill to make sure that you don't have any impact on your P&L at the bill date. I just have to create the journal entries, and automatically those two will be created and posted at their accounting date.
Nice. And what if I want to track those provisions? Is there somewhere on the bill that I can track it easily?
Yeah, let me go back to the bill real quick. In the chatter, you will also have the link with those adjusting entries, and you can decide to click on it and see the details for yourself.
Great, nice, Eva. I'm so in love with our OCR. I'm just wondering something. Is there a possibility for customers that cannot use Odoo for their invoicing to create their invoices quicker instead of creating them manually?
Yes, it's actually a new feature in the V15. It's possible now to OCR all the bills, all your invoices, your customer invoices. So let me upload two of them. I'm going to select those two I've received from a third-party software. Automatically, it will create new customer invoices. And then I go back, two invoices to validate. These are here. You see that automatically it has adapted all the information and I don't have to do anything. Same thing as with the bills.
Impressive. let's go back to the presentation. So yeah, definitely what we saw, first of all, I understand now how we managed to become fully paperless. We have a fully integrated document management system that manages all our incoming documents. And it's even integrated with different applications like accounting and making reducing manual input to a very minimum. Well, our OCR is just amazing. And I have the feeling that during all your presentation, well, automation is really key. By just processing vendor bills, we automate as much as possible. We create the assets for you and we create all depreciations in one single click. And if you want to manage cutoffs, you don't have to wait till the end of the year. You can just manage it on the bill itself. I'm so happy with the automated PO matching. People gonna love it because now the OCR will also take care of taking over the purchase order lines and they don't have to do it manual anymore. And finally, we have OCR for customer invoices as well. Great. Yeah, this is going very well, I think. Let's go to challenge number 3 and talk about the bank transactions. Because as I explained in the beginning, we have 22,000 bank transactions on a monthly basis. How do we do it to reconcile and follow up on them very easily? So, what I wonder is how do we manage different payment providers? We have different payment providers that customers can use to pay us, like Stripe, Ingenico, and others. Is there a possibility to keep an overview of them and also follow up on the balance sheet, what is still open for all of them? 22,000 K of transactions is a lot. I guess they are not able to do all of that manually. Is there some way to automate that as well, Eva? And last but not least, I think we have multiple banks, but our customers as well. Do we have to upload them manually, or is there a way to automate that as well?
Let me show you in the database. So, as you were saying, when you have multiple payment providers, it's sometimes really difficult to know which transactions is related to which bank statement, and especially given the fact that those providers often sends you only one transaction without the commission taken care of, and it's really difficult to understand to which invoice it's related to. So we've improved the payment view where we can easily identify our different acquirers. So here, what I'm going to do is group them, especially given the fact that maybe, for example, PayPal will send you one transaction for all the transactions of the day, of the week, of the month. So it's really easy for you to group by specific periods and have one batch payment for each period. I'm going to do this for the PayPal. Let's create one batch payment. Okay, validate. Do the same for Adyen. And lastly, Stripe. Why do I do this? That's because it's going to be much easier for me afterwards when I want to reconcile those batch payments with my bank statement. So let's go back to the dashboard. You can see here on my bank journal, I have already some items available for me to reconcile. How do they get there? So basically what we do is we synchronize our banks to make sure that we don't have to do any manual intervention to upload those bank statements in our database. So what happens is that you just have to click on online synchronization and all the banks from your your company's country will be available here. You just have to follow the steps, and once it's synchronized, all your bank statements will be imported in your system for you. Let's just reconcile, shall we? When I arrive in the reconciliation interface, you can see here my first bank statement line is about the PayPal payments. I'm just going to check out indeed the batches that I've just created and check the PayPal one. You can see here, indeed, both payments are going to be reconciled, but unfortunately we have an unbalanced entry because PayPal has taken a small commission. So what I did is create a reconciliation model to fill in the proper account for me. So once this is done, I just have to validate. Here, let's do the same for Adyen. Here, no commissions taken, so I can just already validate. And lastly, Stripe, which also needs a commission, so I can apply the same reconciliation model. Here, I have a vendor payment, so I made a payment for my KBC Group vendor for two different bills, but thanks to the payment reference in the bank statement, Odoo will automatically identify both bills in my reconciliation. Here also, the reconciliation is automated given the label on the bank statement. So for bank fees, I automatically fill in an expense account dedicated to it. Next example, here I have a customer that has applied the cash discount that we grant. So they paid a little bit less. And thanks to the reconciliation models again, I can decide to reconcile the invoice and apply an expense account for the cash discount. And lastly, here, the customer has paid me as well, but much less than the total amount. So I can do automatically a partial reconciliation that gives me the remaining amount still be due in my follow-ups. You can see as well, I have a blue warning here informing me that I have one statement line that has been automatically reconciled. That's because we can also define reconciliation model to be auto-validated, so I don't have to validate every time each line. And that's how we do it in Odoo to make sure that we can deal with 22,000 transactions a month without having to do it everything manually.
Wait, that went a little bit too fast for me because I saw that you have multiple incoming payments for different customers. Some of them were automated, some of them were partial, and some of them had a write-off amount. How did you configure that actually?
Let me show you in the reconciliation models. So you can define them, pre-configure everything to make your reconciliation process easier. So let's take the first example. Here I have my invoice matching reconciliation model that we auto-validated, which means that if the payment matches with all those conditions automatically the bank statement, it will be auto-validated. Next reconciliation model is about the cash discount. We can now impose a payment tolerance, which means that if the difference between your open bill, your open invoice, and the payment is less than 2% in my case, I can match the bill with this reconciliation and provide the counterpart, which is my cash discount account. Lastly, if those two do not match with the bank statements, then in that case, I can apply the last one. It's still going to match the bills with my payment. However, if the amount is less than expected, in that case, it will do a partial reconciliation.
Nice. I start to understand how they do it now. Um, I have one additional question. You showed in the beginning the banks, but I guess because you're working in Belgium, do you have an overview like how many banks do we support or in what countries?
Yeah. Indeed, previously we had already 4 different providers enabling us to synchronize the banks in many regions all over the world. This year, we have a brand new provider, Enable Banking, that give and considering all of them, we have more than 25,000 bank synchronization available in Odoo. So a lot of regions all around the world are completely covered.
25K of banks, that's really huge. I'm pretty sure that people will love that one as well. There is one thing that I would like to discuss before we go back to the presentation. In the beginning, you showed those different payment methods. I really like that one, but it seems easy again. Is it also easy to configure that?
Yes, so previously what we had to do when we had different payment providers was to create one bank journal for each and every one of them. But it made the reconciliation process quite difficult. So what we've tried to do in V15 is enabling all those payment methods in one single journal. So if you go in the configuration of the bank journal, in my incoming payments, I can decide to define all the payment methods that I need. So it's super easy. As you can see, all of it is gathered in one journal.
Is it easy to create new ones?
Yeah, you just have to add a line, put the method, and if I want to install Ingenico, for example, that's just as simple as that.
Okay, that was easy. Maybe an additional question because I guess people also want to follow up those on their balance sheet. Is there a way to follow it up differently?
Yeah, so in V15 now by default, the outstanding payment and receipt accounts are unique for all the database. But if you're not comfortable with having only one account for everything, you can decide to have a specific outstanding account for each method. So it's going to be really easy for you in your balance sheet to figure out which payments are still not reconciled.
Great, Eva. Thanks for all that information. Let's jump back to the presentation and see what we've seen. So first of all, we saw now that we can synchronize more than 25,000 banks in real time. We already had some providers, and now we also added enable banking for that part of the world. And well, on the other hand, I really like the fact that we can create now different payment providers, different payment methods, and link it to a single bank journal and have a follow up on the balance sheet for all of them. So, yeah, great. Let's go to the next challenge. Putting data into Odoo is great, but what about the closing entries? Because I guess that at the end of the month, it's always a challenge to close the period in time. So, what I wonder is how do we do it to transform the closing period into a party? So, when I think about closing period, first of all, I would like to see we already saw the VAT statements before, but how do we do to follow that up on the balance sheet? Is there a way to close the entries easily? And when we talk about closing, of course, we talk about provisions. We might have bills coming in late for previous periods. You already showed it with the cutoff. Is there a way to automate that in batch? And on the other hand, well, a lot of people are using, of course, sale orders, purchase orders. They cannot decide when the supplier will send them the bill. Is there a way to automate that provision in order to make sure that the white cost is in the right period?
Let's just check it out, shall we? So let's start with your first issue. You were asking about how we manage closing periods for taxes. Well, let's just go back to the same menu that we've seen before. So thanks to those tax report distinction, it's super easy for each and every one of them to close the entry of the period. So by clicking on closing entry, automatically the tax closing entry will be generated in order to balance all the tax accounts, and you can do that for every single tax report. So that's super easy to achieve. If you were talking also about the different having multiple bills concerning a previous periods. So same as we did with the cutoff, we're only going to do this, but with for multiple bills. Sorry. So I'm going to go in the purchase journal view, and I'm going to look for my entries that concern the previous period. So here you can see I have 3 different bills at different bill dates. I'm going to select all of them, and I can decide to create an automatic entry. What I'm going to do is assign my own recognition date. So 31st of December, keep my accrued account. Again, you can always adjust the amount or with the absolute value if you need it as well. I'm just going to keep it 100. And you can also adapt the journal. So here, what happens is that Odoo is going to create the adjusting entry in the proper period to have these expenses properly recognized in the correct period. And afterwards, it's also going to create 3 different entries for each bill date to make sure that there is no impact in your P&L at that time. I just have to create the journal entries and everything is taken care of for me. Last but not least, and this is my favorite new feature, is that we can now manage all our accruals for our purchase orders. So if I go in my purchase orders and check out the ones for which I'm waiting some bills, you can see all 4 of them are, we have some goods that we've received, but we are still waiting the bills. I want an impact in my balance sheet now, so I'm just going to select all of them, create the accrued expense entry. And here what happens is that, again, I can assign my accrual account and my recognition date. So we're going to keep the end of the month. And you will, not only will you have the provision entry that's been created and automatically filled in for you, but we will also have the reversal entry for the next period. So I don't have to do anything. As you can see, it will be posted automatically for me.
I have to agree with you, Eva. This one is going to be my favorite as well. I'm just wondering, we saw it for the purchase orders. I guess we have a lot of consultants that timesheet on different projects. Is there a way to do it similarly for sales as well?
Yes, yes, it is indeed possible. And but first, we have to validate those timesheets to make sure that everything is in order. So let's go in the timesheet application and see what we have to validate for the last month. Oh, you can see we were both on holiday to the beginning of August. However, I see that you're missing some timesheets. Seems a bit strange, Renan.
I just think that I forget to update them.
Oh, that's fine. Well, let's let's say I'm your manager for the day, and I'll validate those. So let's check them
I'm
out.
not sure that you have to dive in detail of those actually.
Yeah, we're still gonna do it. Yeah, I don't know why you're keeping those beer breaks in your timesheet. That should not appear here.
Not sure how that appeared there. Don't know what. I don't have anything to do with that.
Okay, let's just say I didn't see it. I'm just not going to validate it. Okay, now that it's validated, I can come back to my sale orders. and see if I have some sale orders to invoice. So you can see here, indeed I have. So we've indeed worked on those projects, but we haven't invoiced them yet. Same with with the purchase orders. I'm going to select and create my accrued revenue entry. So as you can see, nothing changes. I can choose my accrual account, date, reversal date, and everything will go as planned.
Amazing new features, Eva. I really like it. Can we jump back to the presentation and have a recap? So yeah, first of all, we already saw the different VAT statements, but we can now see that linked to a single company, we can follow them up on the balance sheet as well. And on the other hand, it's both our favorite. Well, we can now automate accruals in one click for open sale and purchase orders. And we even keep track of the different invoicing policies and the different periods. So yeah, in a single click, we create it all for you. So last but not least, I have a last challenge for you, Eva, and it's all about reporting because, of course, CFOs, managers are very, let's say, difficult about reporting. Is there some way that we can automate that as well? And when I think about reporting, I definitely think about all those complicated management reports, but also about multi-currency. We have companies all over the world. How do we manage all those different multi-currencies? And talking about the reports, is there a way to, let's say, update them easily based upon real-time data? Um, Also, all our managers and CFOs want to add complex calculations on all of these reports. Do we still need Excel for that, or can we handle that in Odoo as well?
Yeah, let me show you. So indeed, we have also improved the reporting purposes. For multi-currency especially, we have made some improvements in our usual reporting. So let's go back in the accounting session. So first, it's easy for you if you have open items in your balance sheet to see in multi-currency to see if you know how to reevaluate it at the end of the period. So as you can see here in our unrealized gains and losses report, you can easily see all the open bills and open invoices that are in a foreign currency and how to reevaluate them. In addition, in our age payable and receivable, we also have the possibility, we have much more information regarding the currencies. So let's take here Harrods and LinkedIn that are both in a foreign currency. We can still have the information in the amount currency plus the GBP and so on. So it's much more complete than before. Let's jump back then to your second question about how to make an updated reporting and stop to lose time at the end of the month to get your updated reporting every time. There is a tool with the documents application that enables you from any pivot table to create your own reports and customize it. And that's the Odoo spreadsheet. So let me just show you from the invoice analysis view. So I'm just going to take my pivot table view and let's say I want an analysis by customer and by product. So I'm going to create, to split by partner and also do the split by product. You can see now you can have much more customization regarding the filters that you want to apply. So I have my pivot table by partner and by product. I'm just going to insert it in a spreadsheet. And that's just as easy as that. The great thing is that everything here is going to be updated. Let's say I want a chart by partner. So I want to split for all my invoices by partner and all the split by product. So I'm going to select my data and I'm going to insert a chart. Here, let's take a bar chart and I just need to add the labels and confirm. Also put the name of it. So invoices by customer. And you can see here, it's automatically created. I don't have to do anything. If I do the same for the products, and let's do a pie this time, I can decide just as easily to create a pie. Let's adapt the labels and put invoices by product. So here again, I have my two different charts, and that's as easy as it gets.
Nice. What about if I want to filter on additional values?
Well, it's easy because you can customize your own filters so easily in the spreadsheet by selecting the filter icon. So let's say you want in this view to filter on the country your partner is in. So you can just create a new filter. You just have to select the right relation. So here I'm going to select the country and save. What happens is that you now have a customizable filter to apply anytime you want. So let's say I want the Italian sales because I love them so much. You can see that automatically not only does the pivot table is adapted, but also the chart. So if I add France, you can see all my values are automatically adapted.
Amazing, Eva. Thank you for showing that. I wonder if there is something for budget follow-up as well.
Yeah. So in the documents application, you have also built-in templates, but you can also create your own. And it happens that we have one for budget. So if I decide to create a spreadsheet, I can select one of the existing spreadsheet templates, and I'm going to check the budget report for quarterly purposes. And automatically, it will create the budget report for me based on the information in the database.
Eva, that is very amazing. It was very quick. There is one thing I wonder always about. It's great to have totals, but how can people check about the details of those totals?
Well, that's a really good question because in V15 we have a new drill down feature enabling you. So let's say here I have a discrepancy. I want to know which from where this comes from. I'm going to click on the cell and I can have the possibility to see the records. And by doing so, I access from in the data from the database and see what happened.
Nice. Very nice. Maybe let's jump back to the presentation in order to see what we've saw. Well, first of all, we saw the new features in multi-currency. I think people gonna love the fact that you can now also follow up open outstanding amounts in foreign currencies as well. But of course, Udo Spreadsheet is just amazing. It's fully integrated reporting tool, updated in real time, and you can now also collaborate and share it with other users. So, what about localizations? Well, we don't have enough time to talk about localization. So, I would like to invite you to follow the talk of our product owner for accounting, Benjamin. He will give a talk about this later today. And to end up this presentation, well, I would like to end with what I talked in the beginning. There is a lot of people working at Odoo. There's also a lot of amazing developers and product owners behind our amazing accounting application. So I would like to thank all of them as well for their great effort because they make it a pleasure for us to present Odoo accounting every time over and over again. And I would like to thank all of you to be here. I hope that you liked the presentation. I hope you will enjoy Odoo experience. And if you have any other questions, well, Eva and me, we are available for any Q&A sessions right now. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining our live Q&A session. And congratulations, Eva. What a great presentation. Great new features in accounting, like everywhere, yeah?
Yeah, thank you so much, Win.
So I think we had a lot of questions. We will start as from the beginning. We tried to took the ones that are the most interesting that came, most of them that were asked. So I think the first one was about what about if you use the OCR for customer invoices and if there are multiple invoices lines? How do we cover that?
So the OCR will automatically group all the invoice lines detected in the file by tax rate. So for each tax rate, you're going to have one invoice line in Odoo through the OCR.
Okay, great. Well, the next question is not exactly linked, let's say, to the scope of today, not about accounting, but it's a great question because we can handle different companies in multi-company in accounting. But what if you want to consolidate them? Is there a solution for that?
Yes, indeed. So there is an additional application for consolidation purposes that enables you to map all your accounts from your different accounting throughout your companies. So you will be able to map all your accounts and create your consolidated reports. And in addition, it does not only map the accounts, but in addition, you're going to get the possibility to convert to your own currency rates based on the currency rates in your companies. So every time for your consolidated account, you're going to be able to choose a target currency that will convert all your accounting entries into the target currency that you have.
Great. So yeah, additional application. We not showed it today, but of course it's available in our standard applications, right?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Next question. I think we showed it when showing the new OSS regulation. But how do we split actually the taxes that are correctly applied for B2B and B2C? We showed it, but how does that work?
Yeah, so basically in Odoo, it's possible to apply the tax rates automatically based on your fiscal situation. So we use fiscal positions in Odoo, that, like we've seen in the demo. So that enables you to give the appropriate tax rates based on the fiscal situation. And if you want to isolate, if you're in a B2B or B2C situation, you can just group by your accounting entries by fiscal positions. That's as easy as it gets. And you can basically do this for any criteria that you're looking for. So if you're looking for OSS fiscal positions, for example, you could do the same thing. That's completely up to you, and it gives you endless possibilities in terms of filtering and reporting.
Great. Well, to continue with the taxes, someone asks about, well, we have the correct percentages for different countries on the tax codes, but what if they change during the years? Is there something that we can update automatically? How does that work?
Yeah, so indeed, so all the tax rates and all the accounting information related to your specific accounting principles in your country are related to our localization packages. So automatically Odoo will update those localization packages without having the user to do anything. So everything will be automatically updated, but that goes for everything in Odoo. So every time that we make a fix or that we want to improve something, we will automatically upgrade the packages that you have installed in your system.
Yeah, great. Well, there was one feature that we showed indeed. It's about the OSS regulation. It's new in Odoo 15, like we showed, but I guess other customers will need it as well. Is there some backporting foreseen?
Yes, indeed. So the OSS regulation was a big improvement, and due to the regulations that were forcing companies to use those OSS regulations starting from the 1st of July 2021. We have backported this feature up to not only version 14 but also version 13. So all the users in those versions can already use this feature in the database.
Great. So a lot of happy users, right?
Yes, indeed.
To continue with the different taxes, I think there was a good question about, well, you explained how we will apply the correct tax, but someone asked about, isn't it based upon the country where we deliver the goods? Is it something that we foresee also, or how does that work?
Yes, indeed. So for fiscal, so we were talking about fiscal position and how we apply automatically the correct tax rates. There's also some specificities given the fact that from where you deliver the goods and so on. So indeed, the fiscal position will take into account the delivery address and not the contact address, the invoicing address that you have on your sale order or purchase order. So automatically, it takes into account also the place of delivery for your sale.
Great. Well, we saw our amazing OCR, and I say amazing because I personally like it really much, and I have a lot of great feedback about how much the recognition rate of it is. Um, can you explain maybe a little bit if there are some fees linked to the use of the OCR?
Can you repeat your
Do
question?
do they have to pay for the use
Mm.
of the OCR?
Yeah, indeed. So our OCR fees are the lowest on the market, actually. That's because we've created our own and we handle everything, we maintain everything out of it. And for Europe, it's between 0.10 and 0.15 euros per credit, and one credit equals one scan, so one invoice scanned. Of course, based on your country and your region, the fees will change, but you can directly see that through the URL iap.odoo.com, where you can see all our fees for our different in-app services.
Great. To continue with the OCR, I think there was a question about why do we need OCR if we can manage invoicing? What is our opinion about that part? Do we still need the OCR or will the invoicing take over?
Yeah, indeed. So that's actually a really good question because, we already have the possibility now to create electronic invoices with XML format, UBL formats, but unfortunately, not all softwares handle that functionality. So the OCR is indeed the best next solution when you can't handle electronic invoicing. So it happens that you have vendors sending you PDF invoices and PDF bills, sorry, and well, basically you don't have the electronic version, so you're still going to have to scan it, and that's
Yeah.
better than just putting it manually in your system.
Yeah, you cannot choose it, of course. To continue with the OCR, we showed actually how you can send different PDF files to the OCR. Can the OCR only handle PDF files, or there are other formats that it can read as well?
No, actually, it can also handle all images formats. The only thing I will not handle is, like, for example, Excel files. But any image is also possible, and that's also a good thing when you're handling your employees' expenses. They can just take a picture of their ticket, and you can already scan it with the OCR through the expense application or the accounting application.
Yeah, indeed. Last question about the OCR, I think. Great feature that we can now take over the purchase order lines thanks to the OCR as well. I think there were a lot of questions about how that works. What if we find a purchase order and actually the lines are not correct or not corresponding with the total amount of the bill? How do we handle that part? Do you know?
Well, actually, it will not. So the OCR will only match purchase orders if the match is perfect. So it means the proper purchase order number and the proper amount between the purchase order lines and what's in the vendor bill. So indeed, it will not match at all at this point. So if you have a difference, it will just follow the classic OCR scan and take the invoice lines from the PDF.
Great. I think we have enough questions about the OCR. There was one for assets. Indeed, we showed it, but I think it was so fast that people cannot imagine how we did to create the asset and validate it immediately. Can you maybe elaborate a little bit on how our asset management works?
Yes, of course. So in Odoo, you have the possibility to assign one asset model for a fixed asset account. So which gives you the possibility to automate the creation of this asset. So for each asset model, you have the possibility to pre-configure all the information for this asset. So which is going to be the depreciation method, the duration, the periodicity, the expense accounts related to it. So all of it you can pre-configure and relate it to the fixed asset account. So once you use this account into the vendor bill, based on your configurations, it will create an asset record that will have all the configurations that you've already set up. So it will have the proper depreciation method, the proper accounts, and that way you can compute the depreciation board automatically by just one click and confirm it just right afterwards.
That easy.
Super easy.
We had some accountants that were asking or wondering, I guess, how do we manage to close a financial year in Odoo? Can you maybe elaborate a little bit that part? How does work?
Well, if I just want to say it in one sentence, I would say there is no closing in Odoo.
Exactly.
And that may seem a bit strange for accountants, but don't worry. It's in Odoo we can easily close our fiscal year because all the accounts, all our financial reports are based on date filters. So all the open accounts will be automatically visible for your next year's balance sheet, and all your accounting entries will be automatically reported to carried over for the next year. No worries. And if you want to close officially the year, you can use the log days to make sure that nobody else can put any accounting entries for the past.
Exactly. Everything is done in real time, actually.
Yeah.
So some people were wondering also, and it's true, we didn't show it. Is there any possibility to set some approval workflows for invoices, for payments, etc.? Do we have a solution for that?
Yes, indeed. So we have the approval workflow feature that is available with the Studio application, but it's not something that is accounting specific. You can set up an approval in any action in the system. So basically, if you want to also put in place a purchase order approval or sale order approval, anything, you can do as much as you like, and you can create your own conditions for all that. So it's up to you, to the user, to decide what kind of approval they want.
Great. To continue, actually, I think there are some questions about our bank synchronization. Maybe you can handle both questions at once. They were wondering where can they check what banks do we support, and the second question that you can answer immediately within there is, do we sync with Isabel, or do we have some possibilities for that?
Yeah, so the best way to make sure that your bank is synchronized or not, to see if it's synchronized or not with Odoo, is to try the synchronization button in your bank journal, and you will have the pop-up window with the list of all the banks available. So that's the best way to see which banks are indeed synchronized or not. And in addition, with your question for Isabel, actually, one of our providers, so Ponto, is actually in the Isabel group. So indeed, there is synchronization available for that.
Yeah, indeed. Totally correct, Eva. I think we're nearly done here for the Q&A session over here. There are still a lot of different questions, so Eva will be available in an additional room where you can continue asking all the different questions. I think the link will be in the chat over here, so don't hesitate to go in there. We need to continue with the next talk, but Eva will be available for all your different questions in the live Q&A session that you can join right now. Thank you very much for joining, and thank you very much, Eva.
Thank you, Inand. A pleasure to be here.
Bye bye.
Bye.